We look to the future in this second council meeting of the new year, and we ask for your continued guidance as we move forward. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that the minutes of the previous meeting be approved as submitted. On the motion,
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross? Yes. Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines? Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
do I have a blanket motion on the communications?
Well,
There were three, I believe, that we submitted from our office.
So moved.
And they seem to be fairly routine. Is there a second?
Second.
Any one of those that the council members, it talks about our community development money. Senator Lincoln congratulating us for being a volunteer community of the year, and Congressman Snyder indicating he was supporting our Medical Ambulance Payment Extension Act. Motion made and seconded, none asking to be pulled on the motion.
Bryant?
yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Let me, we got one presentation. We want to try to move on through that. One of the things that I learned a couple of weeks ago, and had been given an indication that this was going to be implemented in the very near future, within the next couple of weeks. I understand perhaps with the presentation this morning that it won't be quite as quick to be with us, but I wanted to make sure that the community knew that in the very near future, beginning on a 12-hour-a-day basis, we're going to have a service known as 211. There is a service, obviously we know what 911 is for emergency calls, and there are some calls, I'm not sure exactly what the percentage is, that come to our emergency services department that are non-emergency, asking for information, concern, other things. I know Mr. Rick Ezell, who's here as the director of our Office of Emergency Services, and as such, that burden to deal with non-emergency calls does take away time, both to learn whether it's an emergency or not, and take time away from what are, in many instances, life-saving or criminal activity. So, and I'll let Nathan Cook. Nathan Cook is with Arkansas 211. Nathan, if you want to come to the microphone, which, as I said, is not supported or paid for by any user fees or otherwise. It's totally United Way. Walmart has seen to contribute a great deal to this, but this 211 service will be going into effect here within the next 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, I believe, but I'll let Nathan go into that. And as such, when someone has any kind of question that's non-emergency, they can direct that by calling 211, identifying where they're from. Now, if they've got a pothole to fill, or need to know how to get a hold of animal control, or much broader, really, though, than simply city services. Little Rock instituted a 311 that is pretty much local government services for them. I understand 311 is used by larger cities. I don't think any other city besides Little Rock and Arkansas has that capability. Now, 211 will serve as a similar function for us, although it's much broader than what the 311 service is. So I asked Mr. Cook to come and share with us about that service and the implementation of it, and when we might look to see it, and then to make sure that city government interfaced with the portion of that 211 service that's going to be coming about in a way that's the most beneficial to our citizens. With that introduction, Nathan Cook.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, for allowing me to come to speak a few minutes about 211. Mayor did about as good a job as I'll probably do in telling you about 211. It is 3-digit dialing for health and human service information. Typically, information referral services have been in communities for a number of years, but this is a way that all citizens can benefit from having the same information that those of us who are crafty enough to find will be available to them. We have a database that currently houses over 7,000 agencies statewide and over 71,000 different services that are offered to the citizens of Arkansas. Most citizens have a problem with access, not that the services aren't necessarily available, but how do you get to them and getting the proper information to contact these folk. We will have the most up-to-date, comprehensive database anywhere in the state of Arkansas. It is web-based, and it'll be available to citizens that have computers. They can get the same information that our agents will be giving to citizens. One of the differences in 211 is that our agents will be there to help match the correct service to the situation of the end user. So it's different from 411, where we quickly try to find a number and get you off the phone. We really want to match the service to the individual that is calling us. 211 is currently available in 42 states in some form, most of them regional 211s. Arkansas will be the 17th state to have a statewide 211. Eventually, it'll be 24 hours, 7 days a week that you can talk to a live person to get information on any variety of subjects and get information on a very large variety of services. Things such as if you're looking for information on aging services anywhere in the state, you'll be able to get that from 211. Also, there are a lot of state and national programs that are available to local citizens that they probably would never know to look for. Those are available through 211. An example of that, if a local citizen was going to Texas or Louisiana to visit aged parents and needed services and only had a couple of days to be in that area and wanted to have in hand those organizations that they needed to see in that region, you can call 211 and get that information, or be tied to the 211 in that community that can give that to you. And all of this is free of charge to the end user. There's not a surcharge on phone bills for this service. Also, 211 has some other utilities that are available during disasters. 211 can become that number that citizens can call to get information on shelter programs. Tracking, it can be a tracking mechanism in terms of locating lost relatives and that type of a thing. It takes a lot of pressure off the 911 that folk with non-emergency type calls can call 211 rather than 911. We're currently setting a lot of MOUs with organizations such as ADAM, 911, and the Red Cross, who see us as a great welcoming organization to really take the burden off of them so first responders can do the work that they need to do. So I think 211 is going to be a great asset to the state and hopefully to North Little Rock. I'm going to show you a little quick video with the governor talking a little bit about 211, and he's been backing 211 very greatly. In terms of when it'll be up, we initially had scheduled 211 to go live on February 11th. That won't happen, not because of the operation. We're operationally ready to go now, but due to the connectivity through all the different phone companies, it will probably be another 6 to 12 weeks before it actually goes live. There will be 2 call centers in the state. One, the main center will be in Pine Bluff, and another center will be in Springdale as a partnership with the 24-hour crisis service there in Springdale. The end user will not know where they're calling, but most of the calls in the western part of the state will go to that call center up there with a rollover effect for the Pine Bluff Center. So I'm going to show you this, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Director of the Municipal League, but he is also the chairman of the 211 committee. And so, if you will, please welcome Don Zimmerman.
All right.
We got a quick meeting like this, people. We've had a number of press conferences today, and all of them have been good news. I'm sure there'll be some press conferences where you have some less than desirable news, but it's been a good day so far for press conferences. We're here to talk today about the 211, and I just want to say a couple things at the outset, and then let these other people who have been instrumental in various aspects of this program have just a couple of minutes each to tell you about their perspective in it. But 211 connects our people in our state to various state services and to private help and assistance in a way that really kind of coordinates information. You know, so much in the way of disconnect, or what you hear from people more often than not is the runaround. That's a phrase, and I've been the victim of that as well. You know, you try to call somebody and get something done, they say, well, we can't help you, go here, you go there, you go. So this is an attempt to try to address some of those problems, and certainly not just restricted to the public sector, but also the private sector as well. When this thing is implemented here, we will be one of only 17 states that has this program statewide. Now, a number of states have the program, but more often than not, it's regional as opposed to statewide. And certainly, I want to specifically thank United Way and Walmart, who both, through their own leadership, have provided the way and shown us the way, and we will hear from that. But I also wanted to mention that Daryl Bassett, who is a member of our public. So, without any further ado, let me introduce first Angela Tilley, who's president of United Way of Arkansas.
I'm Angela Tilley. I'm Executive Director of the United Way of Fort Smith area and happy to serve as the President of the United Ways of Arkansas. I'm very honored to be here where every Executive Director of a United Way should be standing right now. And I applaud every staff member of a United Way for making this happen today. United Way is in the business of connecting people and resources. When anyone is in need of services, we need to know where to send that individual or family so they can get services. 211 is the answer for United Ways in Arkansas. 211 is a very easy to remember 3-digit phone number, 211. When anyone is in need of help, they can call 211. When anyone would like to volunteer or give help, 211 will be available. We're very pleased to announce that 211 will be coming to Arkansas this summer. Arkansas will be the 42nd state to have 211 in place, and as the governor said, the 17th state in the nation to have a statewide database in place for 211. What's exciting about this phone number is not only can individuals be in a position to get or give help, but United Ways will now have the data available to us so we can identify gaps in services. How many times in a community are we challenged to find the right help for an individual or family in need? This will help us solve that problem because the data given to us on what is needed will allow us to form new partnerships and new programs to better help our citizens in the state. Every citizen in the state of Arkansas will benefit from this phone number. We're very pleased to announce that we will have 2 call centers in the state of Arkansas, one in Pine Bluff and one in Bentonville. And the call centers will operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are very pleased that this summer this service will be available to every citizen across the state. We thank the state of Arkansas, we thank Walmart, and we thank you.
Yeah, let me jump in just a second or two because they clarify that, and you can talk about that in just a second too. about the fact that when it first starts up, Nathan, it's going to be 12 hours instead of 24, and they'll work into 24. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of notice for our citizens. The reason that I kind of got busy and got you here, because I thought it was going to be, the second week of February when it would go into effect. And obviously now that's going to be 6 to 12 weeks out, and her comment about the summer probably was more accurate. So, we're a little bit advanced, but nonetheless, let folks know what's coming and what that opportunity will prevent or will allow themselves to be a part of.
Right, and if there are any organizations represented that are not in our database, if you'll contact our office, or you can go online and at 211arkansas.org and pull down a form and fill it out and send it to us, and we'll make sure you're in the database. If you want to view our database, which is available now, if you go to arkansas211.org, hit the agency page, and then scroll down about halfway, click into the page, it'll take you to our website so that you can use it yourself. You can make it one of your front pages to be able to use, but it's amazing of the number of services that are available within the state, and also national programs that are available to local citizens that most citizens wouldn't even know exist. So I think it's going to be a great utility for the state and the communities as we go along.
One of the things that was mentioned this morning that I wanted to share, and that's that this is indeed, we're the 17th state to do it on a statewide basis. There are many areas that have it. If one of our citizens should be going into an area, that either has 211 or perhaps will acquire 211, then if you have a question, you can use that in trying to determine what services are available and that are local. So 211 is going to reach Arkansas and will this summer, but it is in place, and if you're somewhere that has it, you can avail yourselves of that 211 number and be able to access response to non-emergency questions.
Right, and our agents are very well trained. These systems have to be nationally accredited. I was chair of the National Accreditation Committee for a couple of years, so I'm building this to be here. So we look forward. I am the state director of 211. If you have any questions about the database or being entered in the database, you can call 870-543-4954. And you'll be able to get someone to help you between the hours of 8 and 5.
And just let me end this by saying www.arkansas, spelled out, 211.org.
And we have some handouts up here if you want them. Just pick them up as you leave.
www.arkansas211.org. With that, Nathan, we appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
All right.
Let me go ahead and deal with the special call. Unfortunately, we thought that a grant was available and had been given an indication that that grant would be there for a 50-50 match. This service that we were proposing to add to Central Arkansas Transit on a 50-50 basis, we found out today that that was in error and that grant is in fact not available, although we've reapplied and should be available within the next 6 months. So since we don't have that money available, I'm just going to go ahead and tell the council, please keep an eye on that as we look forward. It's something I think will very much benefit Central Arkansas Transit and our patrons as we try to continue to enhance our service, particularly with gasoline bumping around $3. With that, I'll withdraw that special call and ask Ms. Whitby if we could go to unfinished business.
Yes, sir. Ordinance 07136, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance granting a conditional use to allow an auto accessories installation business in a C3 zone for certain real property located at 3701 JFK Boulevard in the city of North Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
Before I see if there's a motion on that, I think Mr. Holmes, are you here? Scott Holmes, you want to come to the microphone because I know Mr. Voiles contacted you a little earlier, and I know that we didn't get a motion to suspend the rules at the last council meeting, so if you know, I think you have something you want to share with us at this point, or somebody wants to share with us, and if so, Ms. Whitby's rule about filling out a speaking card, we'd ask you both announce your name, spell it, and then share that with her too.
Mayor Hayes, members of the council, my name is Kevin Keech, Keech. I'm a 4-year resident of the city of North Little Rock, but I'm here tonight as an attorney to speak on behalf of Mr. Scott Holmes and his company, Audio One, Inc. Mr. Holmes became aware that there may have been some concerns about his request for a special use permit. He's here and available to answer any questions that you all may have about his current operations and his intended operations. He asked me primarily to provide a little bit of information to you and help you all understand exactly what he may be doing. And if I might take 2 or 3 minutes simply to do that, Mayor, I'll try to be brief. Briefly, this area, and I can pass around some pictures. I don't think there's a place to display some information, but I wanted you all to understand where this place is. This is in the Park Hill area, and it is right across the street from Paul's Diner. There is a map that is attached to the conditional use permit request, and then there are some staff recommendations that are listed on here. But I'll pass these around so you can get an idea of where this property is located, but it is 3701, and I'll just begin, if I may.
Certainly, I think most of us are probably familiar.
Okay.
Right next to Red Door Gallery, right across from Paul's.
Yes,
it's a
yes,
filling
sir.
a former filling station. It was constructed for use original as a filling station.
Yes, sir.
And
I
it's
have
on the corner of JFK and
G.
G Street. G Street? GH, right. G Street.
That's correct.
Which would be the northwest corner of JFK and G Street.
Yes, sir. And if I might, I have a couple of pictures here of the site location. There is also, I think we understand there may have been some questions about the sound noise that came out, and there's some remediation measures that have been started to be addressed, particularly some sound baffling. That there's some copies of some pictures of that measure, and some pictures of some locations surrounding it. I won't take up any more time, but if I might just pass these around.
Sure.
And finally, Mayor, Mr. Holmes has done some legwork associated with this, and again, in an effort to be a good citizen, he obtained the signature of, I believe, around 100 folks that are in and around the Park Hill area, I believe, that have expressed that they don't have any objection to his use. And he's also spoken with all of the folks around the area, and none of them have expressed any concerns with his being there, except for, I believe it's the Red Door Art Gallery. And Mr. Holmes, he may have something that he
You
may
may want
want
to
to add.
circulate that petition that you are
Yes,
talking
yes, sir.
about to the council so they can,
I will do so. I believe that I left it over here. If I might go retrieve that, I'll be right back. Mayor Holmes, I'm going to pass this around, and Mr. Holmes, if you would tell them what this is that I'm passing around.
That's actually a petition. I went around this weekend. I took those photos and went around speaking to people in the direct area. I wanted to know if there were concerns. I wanted to know what those concerns were. If there were objections, I wanted to see what I could do to help remedy those situations. I want to be a good business owner there. I want to let those also know what we do there. I got nothing but good response from everybody there. All of them, I never spoke to anyone that was, that was objecting of it. I've taken a lot of the precautions in the photos you see. Some of the things that did happen to hear before I went around was the noise. I wanted to address that, and that's the very first thing that I went to work on. The nearest building to me is the Red Door Art Gallery, and I wanted to work with them. And I had heard the people before me had problems with sound and interrupting their business. So I went and actually put the material on the outside of the building, on the area that will be in question. I put it on the outside and inside of the building to remedy every bit of sound I could. I also put on the bay doors. All the doors have that same material on the inside so that I could deaden all the sound that I could possibly do. I've discussed it with my employees that every time we do something of that nature, well, that's not everything we do. It's not all about sound. We also do window tinting. We do televisions in cars. It's not just about the sound and the big speakers. Actually, the big speakers are not, we don't even do that very often. It's not something that we do every day. I've even checked, I went as far as checking on when we do in those installs, when we do install something of that nature, how long does it take and what kind of noise are we making from that situation? You know, it takes probably 3 to 4 minutes to actually do that, okay? That's all that we're going to be hearing is those 3 or 4 minutes. You know, we probably don't do, last week I did 2 of them the entire week. So, like I said, you know, we do alarm systems, we do window tinting, we do televisions, and every day stereos. You know, it ain't always about the speakers. I'm looking forward, the one reason why I wanted to come to North Little Rock, I already have a business in Little Rock. I wanted to better myself. I wanted to offer the same quality products that I offer there, I wanted to offer it in North Little Rock. I'm a resident of North Little Rock. I have been for about 3 years now. And that's why I wanted to bring it to this area.
There's not any motion. I won't ask for one right now, except to the extent I'll ask any council member if they want to have any questions.
We have a question of Mr. Volz.
All right. Okay.
Is the present use of this building in violation of any zoning ordinances?
The present use was the auto restoration. It was approved through special permit
Okay.
through the city council.
And his request for a sound installation of auto accessories, would that be in violation of any zoning ordinances?
No, it's listed as a conditional use in your zoning ordinance. So it's a use that is allowed in C3, and you can place conditions on it to make it come into harmony with the neighborhood.
Okay. At the planning commission meeting on December the 11th, according to this document, the ordinance, the planning commission unanimously approved this request with the following conditions. Tell me about were there any of the residents of that particular neighborhood present at that planning commission to voice any opposition?
I know there were people speaking, but we know there's been opposition on this case all along. Concerns of Park Hill becoming an auto repair area. So I can't remember all of the meeting, but I'm sure they'll correct me if I miss somebody.
Well, I grew up in Park Hill, and one of my former employers used to have a service station there, and you remember Pete Clowers, and it's my knowledge that there's been service stations and all along John F. Kennedy Boulevard, even before it was called JFK, it was Arkmo Highway. There was at least 2 full-service stations at the corner of D Street and JFK. There was a full-service station at one time where the Shell station is now at the corner of A Street and JFK. And then at G Street, there was a Bryant Brothers, I believe, used to be on one corner where there's a tire store now, and then Clowers moved his service station up there for a period of time. And then across the street, correct me if I'm wrong, but at one time or another where the car wash is now was a service station.
I believe that's correct.
And then down at the bottom of the hill, past Lake Hill Shopping Center, has been either an auto body or a service station or some type of automobile service center for years and years and years.
The dent repair at Lookout, I guess.
So this gentleman's request is really not going to change the complexity or change the environment on JFK. Is that correct?
Well, everything that changes some, but The Planning Commission looked at this and came up with reasonable conditions that they thought would help this use be in harmony with the neighbors.
Okay, so, but his request would not be in violation of any zoning ordinances to your knowledge, is that correct?
No, sir, as long as the conditions are met.
Thank you, Robert.
The petition that I was looking over, you said that was people in the neighborhood?
Yes, ma'am. I walked around several blocks in the neighborhood.
I saw very few addresses that are even in Ward 1 on that petition. On those street addresses? Those are not in the neighborhood. Ms. Robinson has, I mean, there's several streets in her ward.
Water Street,
Camp Robinson.
You can take a
Bull.
look and make sure, but
Bull Street, none of those are in that area.
Addresses were not in that neighborhood.
This,
Camp Robinson's on there. And
if I might share a little familiarity with the city, there's addresses on page 1 here that are in Rose City, in the, quite some distance from Park Hill. They're not, I don't see a 1 on Park Hill
There's not.
on the first page. I haven't gone through every one of them, but nothing on the first page is on Park Hill.
Maybe there were people that were up there that for some reason, but those addresses, Mr. Boys, you can take a quick look at them, but.
I was mainly in a parking lot, I'm in a business parking lot, asking, do you have a problem with me being there?
But they didn't.
Yeah, that may very well have been the case. Unfortunately, none of those, I didn't see any either, those signatories were, that I could see lived in the area.
None.
The council,
Mayor, can I ask you, the applicant a question? Did you survey the residents in the immediate proximity of this?
Yes, sir.
Are they but they're not on this list, is that
No,
correct?
sir. No, I sent registered letters to anyone within 200 feet of that business. That was part of the list of recommendations, or actually what I had to do. I had to send registered letters to all property owners that were in that area.
Okay, I don't see, Mayor, I'm in agreement, I don't see any addresses that are familiar with me to being in the Park Hill area, G Street or 8th Street or Olive or...
I tell you what, let me make a suggestion, and that is, this council was very interested in that petition and looking for addresses. I really can't predict at this point how the council would vote, but and I'll be happy to call it for a vote if you want me to, or at least call it for a motion. But I might suggest that we wait one more council meeting and that you go up there again and knock on some doors of some of those folks and see if they would be inclined to agree that they don't have an objection, because I think that's really what we're trying to determine. And and then also let me, in all fairness, unless there's an objection, also call a public hearing on this so that if anyone up there that can hear or be aware of us, that we in all likelihood will be disposing of this one way or the other at the next council meeting. So we'll give people, before we vote on it, an opportunity to come up and tell us whether they oppose it or like it or are confused by it. So let's do two things, because we really want to be fair, and that is you have an opportunity to go out there and knock on doors and make sure that those addresses are people that live there and are around there. And then, we'll also, anybody that, can't get to us can either submit something in writing to the city clerk's office, and it'll be filed as a communication, or they'll be given a chance to say something, and that way we, when we act, we'll have every opportunity to give the community opportunity for input.
Yes, sir.
Alderwoman Ross?
And also they can call their alderman.
And
Again.
the two who are geographically interested in this are the two over here to my right, Alderman Bryan and Alderwoman Ross. So if y'all want to raise your hands, those are the two that are that's geography you're particularly talking about, and we always are extremely sensitive to the council member whose ward this is in. So,
Will do.
okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. With that, I'll hold it. Next item,
New business, Resolution 0808, Mayor Hayes.
please call it.
Did not get cards from them. Could they complete those before they leave?
I hope they will.
Mr. Holmes is leaving.
Well,
Can you fill out a little card for me? Sorry. Resolution 0808, a resolution certifying local government endorsement of Polytech Incorporated to participate in the tax back program is authorized. Thank you.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines? Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0809, Mayor Hayes.
Please call
A
it.
resolution appropriating $16,475.74 from Act 833 funds for remodeling work on the kitchen facilities at the Central Fire Station.
I just have one question.
Well, let's move for adoption. Can we do that?
I'll move for adoption, then I have a
Is
question.
there a second?
Second.
All right, Chief? Chief Malden, are you here? Okay.
I was just questioning if maybe Mr. Carter could explain in somewhat short detail Act 833. It's my understanding it can be used to upgrade fire departments.
Act 833 money, and I'll quickly do it, and Carter or Chief Malden can do that too. It's a fund that we have. Is it funded by insurance
Yes, sir, it's
premium?
insurance premium turnback.
Insurance premium turnback that only can be used for fire-related activities. Equipment principally is what we use it
Yes, sir.
for. And so this is simply a request by the fire department to be able to use money that only the fire department can use for generally these capital purposes.
I agree.
Okay.
Answers my question.
I agree.
We appreciate y'all agreeing. Thank you very much. And I'm glad I didn't have a senior moment, too. Motion made and second. Any further questions on the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0810, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
A resolution appropriating $7,548.42 from Act 833 funds for remodeling work at Fire Station Number 3.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines? Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Resolution 0811, Mayor Hayes.
Please call
A
it.
resolution appropriating $2,412.85 from Act 833 funds for repair work at Fire Station Number 7.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross? Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines? Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinances, Ordinance 0802, Mayor Hayes.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance authorizing extension and renewal of the city's revolving credit note on Amendment 78 for the acquisition, construction, and installation of real and tangible personal property and other related facilities in the city of North Rock, Arkansas, authorizing execution of an amended and reinstated promissory note appropriating funds. First reading.
Let's go ahead and take that to third reading if we can, and then I'll briefly explain where we are. Have a motion to suspend the rules?
I'll make a motion, we suspend rules and place it on the second reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker? Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing extension and renewal of the city's revolving credit note on Amendment 78 for the acquisition, construction, and installation of real and tangible personal property and other related facilities in the city of North Rock, Arkansas, authorizing execution of an amended and restated promissory note appropriating funds. Second reading.
One more time.
Suspend the rules, place it on its third.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing extension and renewal of the city's revolving credit note on Amendment 78 for the acquisition, construction, and installation of real and tangible personal property and other related facilities in the city of North Rock, Arkansas, authorizing execution of an amended and restated promissory note appropriating funds. Third and final reading.
Where we are, and many of us will recall, we made a decision to, when cost overruns became obvious, to build the kind of ballpark that we wanted to leave our kids and grandkids, but not in any quick order. And as such, Katrina, other reasons caused the cost to accelerate much greater than the $28 million that we had initially set aside. our sales tax came in a little bit less than 33 million. Mr. Sisson, you want to get up there and give us an exact number? We had predicted 33 million, like 20, or 32 million.
Just one more, Mayor.
Well, you can find it and just confirm, but it's just a little less than 33 million.
It came in at 32,964,000.
I wish it'd come in 33,964, but, we're sure glad that it didn't, that it was as close as it was if it wasn't in excess. Mayor,
if I could, it came in at 32,793,000. I was reading it wrong. 32,793,000. We estimated the 32, the one I just said.
Why don't you sit down before you find any lower numbers to read?
33 million, that's what I said.
No, you might want to stay up there. I'm kidding, Mr. Sisson. But we made a decision to overrun on terms of the $28 million we had originally projected, and that amount came in. I believe it was right at $34 million, a little over. Which ended up us being over. A little over $6 million, I think, what the final numbers were. You want to give us an exact?
Currently, we're over $5,926,000, and with interest, it'd be just slightly over $6 million.
And we think there are just maybe a few small bills out, but right at $6 million is what our overage was, perhaps a little bit more. And we anticipate, we've been in communication with the Travelers. They're doing their final books. Under the terms of our agreement, they will make a payment by the end of the first quarter, which is the 31st of March. March 28. 30 days, 31, how many days? Well, however many.
31 March has.
31 in March, okay. And their indication to us is that they feel very confident that they will be able to pay us at least $1 million. This note that we have, is reflected to extend until the end of the year. We're very confident that what we were going to be coming back to the council, we're doing that at the end of the year, requesting to do it at the end of the year, just for in case paperwork or some other issues come up, and give us plenty of time to go into a permanent financing, or when I say permanent, at least a financing approach that we want to do in terms of a revenue bond that would allow us to pay it off. At least I'm going to recommend to the council over 10 years with an opportunity to prepay if the revenues continue to come in similarly to what they had our first year, which is an exceptional year for the Travelers. We don't see any reason why that ought to fall off any. If so, it wouldn't be much. So we're hopeful that $5 million. I'll remind the council what we agreed to do in a modified understanding with the Travelers, and that is, the initial understanding is that we would allow the Travelers under our agreement. The Travelers would take out their operating expenses, and obviously enough to carry them into revenue projection, revenue situation for the following year, and then the remainder would be divided equally between the Travelers and the city. In the course of recognizing there would be this overage, and we wanted to do a quality ballpark that would benefit the city and the Travelers, we agreed to, again, the Travelers take out their operating expenses, and then anything in excess of that, we would devote 100% to the retirement of a debt. And in such, this first payment, we anticipate will be at least $1 million and hopefully a little more. So as soon as that payment's finalized, then we would go out, ask the council for permission, go out and ask for what I would recommend would be a 10-year amortization. Interest rates are really very good right now, and then we would have an opportunity to prepay that if we came in and were able to do so early, which I very much anticipate that we'd be able to do. If you have any questions of me or Mr. Sisson, that's where we are. This note that we originally got to cover the overage does come due at the end of this month, so we really need to take some action tonight. Any questions? Mr. Sisson, you got any?
And Mayor, the note we're renewing is less interest than what we're currently paying. We're currently paying 5.58. The note that we will renew is 4.9. And it's a taxable. It's a little bit higher than what we normally pay, though.
Go ahead.
I guess the total cost of the project is how much?
The total cost of the project is right at a little more than $34 million. And then you have $6 million in real estate costs, so you're looking at, if you want to add real estate, $40 million plus a little bit. If you don't if you take the real estate out, $34 million.
Go ahead. That's all right.
No, I was just, how soon will we come back and do the revenue bonds?
Well, what I'm going to recommend is just as soon as we get the payment from the travelers, we'll come back, because I think that we feel like there's now, if 4.9, is a better rate than we could get, we might very well keep the 4.9, so it'll be somewhat interest rate driven, but I think we feel like a 10-year amortization, we'll, in all likelihood, get a better interest rate than 4.9. So this 4.9 interest rate is good through the end of this year.
Yes, and we can pay it off anytime we want to as we refinance it, correct?
There's no prepayment penalty, okay?
No prepayment.
And I just can't remember, Mayor, we're $6 million over budget, but down here we're borrowing, the note's $12 million. Am I right about that?
That's the loan.
That's the original principal amount, $12 million.
Well, yeah, the original principal amount, I don't know if we ever got up to $12 million.
This is a line of credit for $12 million?
Line of credit.
Okay.
Well, it was line of credit because we knew we were going to go over, and we knew we might have some lag time on the income from the sales tax. So we went up to 12 million, and I don't know what the top end we had, but it was a line of credit, top end on 12 million. The sales tax came in up through about a month and a half ago, about 2 months ago.
End of November, yes, sir.
And then we trued up as to what our actual overage was 6 million rather than, the line of credit, which I think we did go up into.
We got up to $10,700,000.
So it was simply a line of credit, and that was the top end.
And the bottom line is, and what will the revenue bonds be issued? How much will they be issued for?
Well, we anticipate the revenue bond will be issued by somewhere right around $5 million.
Right.
Okay.
And that would be after the first payment of what we anticipate to be at least $1 million. So right now, we're right at 6 million plus a little bit over.
Okay. The last question, this was done, though, with, all this borrowing was done with the other council before that last year, wasn't it? We didn't do this last year, did we?
2 years ago.
2 years ago,
2 years
thank you.
ago.
Yeah, make sure.
Slightly over 2 years
I
ago.
don't know where I've been if we've done that.
Wise move. I really appreciate the council's.
And we're not paying interest on, we've not borrowed $12 million. It's in if I remember correctly, it's in $100,000 increments.
Well, that's the electric, sir.
Is that the electric?
The electric
Well,
one.
this one,
This one we borrowed the money as we needed when we was building.
as we need it, and that's what we paid, and that's what we pay the interest on, not the $12 million.
We got up to 10 million, as I said, well, $10,700,000.
Yeah, we all remember, we put this in place because we felt there would be a point that the cost of the construction of the facility would exceed the revenue that was generated by the sales tax for a certain period of time, and then we knew that it was going to, that the sales tax money wouldn't be sufficient when we made the decision to build the kind of stadium that we felt would be, we'll say, quality enough for both this community and the ballpark. So we really, everything tracked along pretty much as we anticipated, and that line of credit was available and got up to, like Mr. Sisson said, $10.5 million when we finished the ballpark last summer or last spring, and then we were able to whittle down that $10 million, both with income from the sales tax as well as catching up from the remainder of the sales tax year. So it ended up as where it is now, and we're about $6 million anticipating a $1 million payment.
I mean, it'd be irresponsible not to vote for it. I mean, we just have to.
Any other questions? I'd just like a motion to adopt on final. Motion made and seconded on the motion.
Bryant? Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines? Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Bryant? Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines? Parker?
Yes.
Height? And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0803, Alderwoman Ross.
Please call it.
This is an ordinance granting a special use to allow a single-family residence in a C3 zone for certain real property located at 2014 Pike Avenue in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules and placed on second reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant? Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines? Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance granting a special use to allow a single-family residence in a C3 zone for certain real property located at 2014 Pike Avenue in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and placed on third reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant? Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance granting a special use to allow a single-family residence in a C3 zone for certain real property located at 2014 Pike Avenue in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
On the question?
Can we have a question?
Sure.
Is this building being used as a single-family residence now? Is this to correct something, Mr. Vols? I know we've done this a couple of times up in my ward.
This is the rear structure that originally was a residence. The property's been used as commercial. I don't know the current use now. I don't know if Larry Jones is here, Rogers. But it's the rear structure on that parcel. They're wanting to rent it out since it was originally a house. It was used with that appliance repair service that was in there last.
Alderwoman Ross?
I did go down there, and there's a little house in there, and that's what he's wanting to do. He's wanting to fix that up to rent it out.
So he wants to rent it out just as rental, as a home?
Little house.
Doesn't have any other intentions for this building?
No, it's just trying to get some rental use out of the property.
Just spruce up the area.
Oh, we'll go ahead. Every time we stop things that are sort of moving in a flow on third and final, I always like to get another motion. So adopt on third and final.
Move for adoption.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0804, Alderwoman Robinson.
Please call it. This is an ordinance granting a conditional use for a daycare center and a C4 zone for certain real property located at 1901 East Broadway in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place on the second reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
This is an ordinance granting conditional use for a daycare center in a C4 zone for certain real property located at 1901 East Broadway in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place on the third reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines? Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance
I've got
granting
another question.
He has a question.
The expansion of East Broadway, is that going to affect this property any? Where the daycare is planning on being?
Well, we have the owners here. It's my understanding that it will not.
It will not, the right-of-way is being accommodated on another way, south side of it, I suppose.
Okay, and the night of the planning commission voted on this, was there anybody there as opposed to it?
No, sir, not that I recall.
And the planning commission voted 8-1.
Sir?
Planning commission voted 8-1 with all these
Yes, sir.
conditions. Did the applicant agree to all these conditions?
They did. They're in
Wholeheartedly?
operation down the way and want to relocate to this building.
We're real happy about having a daycare on East Broadway.
Pardon me?
Instead of another car lot?
I just,
That's fine. We're happy about the daycare.
my only, I'm going to vote for this, but my concern is that you put a daycare on one of the busiest thoroughfares in the city. It's just, I just don't think it's an appropriate area for a daycare. The same way I opposed the one up on John F. Kennedy Boulevard by the high school.
We already have one on East Broadway, and it's doing fine.
Excuse me. I've got my questions answered, Mayor.
As my normal practice, I'd like to get another motion when we stop.
Actually, it needs to be read the third time.
Oh, okay.
Move
We
to-
stopped in before that.
It was stopped in mid-reading.
Okay.
This,
Well, wait a minute. No, I think we got to read it, right?
right.
Yes.
All right, let's read it.
This is an ordinance granting a conditional use for a daycare center in a C4 zone for certain real property located 1901 East Broadway in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
On the question.
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines? Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0805, Alderman Parker.
Call it, please.
This is an ordinance vacating and abandoning a certain sewer utility easement located in part of Lot 1, Summit Church Addition to the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance vacating and abandoning a certain sewer utility easement located in part of Lot 1, Summit Church Addition to the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules, place it on third and final reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
An ordinance vacating and abandoning a certain sewer utility easement located in part of Lot 1, Summit Church Addition to the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
On the Alderman Witcher.
Mayor, I see a letter from Central Arkansas Water, but not one from the wastewater regarding the easement. Mr. Mills, Mayor, I guess the question is, did y'all have an opportunity to look at this?
Yes, sir, we did. We don't have a line in that easement and don't intend one, so it'll be no problem at all closing
Right,
it.
okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mills.
Anybody, let's see, we're on third, and we're on, all right, let's just get a motion to adopt.
So move.
Second.
Made and seconded. On the motion to adopt.
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
On the emergency, Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
Ordinance 0806, Alderman Thomas.
All right, please.
This is an ordinance granting a conditional use to allow a used car sales lot in a C4 zone for certain real property located at 2100 East Broadway in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. First reading.
I'd like to move the rules be suspended and placed on second reading.
Second.
On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
No.
Thomas? Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
No.
This is an ordinance granting a conditional use to allow a used car sales lot in a C4 zone for certain real property located at 2100 East Broadway in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Second reading.
I'd like the rules be suspended and placed on second reading.
Second.
Let's take the motion, then we'll have discussion. On the motion?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
No.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
No.
Go ahead and read it, and then we'll have discussion.
This is an ordinance granting a conditional use to allow a used car sales lot in a C4 zone for certain real property located at 2100 East Broadway in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
Alderwoman Robinson?
Well, my question to Mr. Boyles, is this lot gravel or is it paved or concrete?
It's a mixture, and the applicants here who could speak a little better on the actual site. This is the car lot on there at Broadway, and Buckeye. They're wanting, I think the rear is not paved, it's mostly gravel, isn't it?
You might want to come on up, just in case there are any other questions.
The front where the cars are?
The front of it, is it paved or gravel?
No,
It's all gravel?
It's actually grass in the front, yes, ma'am.
I'd like for it to be asphalt or concrete. I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, hold on just a second. All right, any other questions?
The only thing I was going to say is, I know that it's properly zoned, and the car lot, there's been car lots there for years on that location. And I know some people, are opposed to those car lots, but if you own a piece of property and it's legally zoned and you have a legal business, I don't really see a problem. I know I've got a couple of houses, one in Little Rock and one in North Little Rock, at a vacant lot next door. I wish they'd never put a house on there, but it's legal, and if they want to do it, certainly they have the right to do it, and I feel the same here. If you own a piece of property and you're doing a legal business and it's zoned properly, that we shouldn't try to restrict their use.
Okay, Alderwoman Robinson was discussing a motion. You want to help us a little bit on that?
Well, since we're going to have car lots on East Broadway, they need to look like the ones on Landers and Warden Road. My feeling is, and I know Ward 2 is not Landers and Warden Road, fellow council members. My thing is, it's my understanding, the reason why a lot of the car lots prefer gravel is in case there's an oil leak. My thing is, I'd like for the surface to be asphalt or concrete, and I think that that's fair to request. So I was wanting to amend the legislation to ask, that it either be asphalt or concrete.
Mr. City Attorney, would that be a proper request? And if so, would you want to make a suggestion as to where that might fit?
I think that it is a proper amendment, and Mayor, under Section 2, subsection 8, could be added to say that the parking lot shall be paved with concrete or asphalt.
And I'll second her.
Okay, that's the motion made and seconded. Now we're in discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? On the motion.
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
No.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes, move for adoption as amended.
Second. On the motion? Oh, excuse me, Alderman Bryant?
Yeah, do you own this property or are you leasing it?
No, sir, I'm leasing it.
Thank you.
Alderman Ross?
Well, there's something else that's been brought to my attention, too. On a lot of these car lots on Broadway, are the inoperable cars that they have on those lots? I mean, these are supposedly lots for cars for sale, but then there are inoperable cars on these lots. Is Mr. Wadley here? One of the things that we're talking about, the inoperable cars, these car lots, I mean, they've got cars for sale, and then they've got cars sitting there that won't even run.
Yes, ma'am.
If it's not a repair shop, they should have a car, the car should run.
I think what
Right?
you're
How are you going to drive it off if,
What's our rules on that? What do we have, Mr. Wadley?
Actually, we don't right now. That's why we discussed in the past that maybe if there could be some type of condition, there would be no, quote, dead car, dead vehicle storage, and then by putting a definition on that dead vehicle. We've had instances where they may repo a car that's been wrecked and it just sits there for months and never gets fixed.
Mayor,
I want
can I
to
ask
add
a
that
question?
Sure, just a second, though, Mr. Alderman Height. Are we finished?
An amendment inoperable.
Is that,
Inoperable or red cars.
Mr. Carter, is this a place for a proper motion that would indicate that only operable cars would be, should be available for sale?
Number 9.
I'm sure I can fashion something together here pretty quickly, if that's what you'd like.
Because I think we perhaps, I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but, used car lot is for cars that can be used, I would almost say, or pre-owned, I think is the current vogue way to say it. And I would think that if our city attorney could do that might be something that someone would want to consider. Alderman Ross?
Another thing that, when these do go before the planning commission, one other thing I'd like, when they're doing the conditions and everything, I think that should be added on all the conditions on any car lot.
I think we would probably need to adopt some legislation here to do that, but I think would be certainly proper that we could do.
we can adopt the legislation.
Okay.
But I think right now, only before us is this one
Right.
specific item. So we could take
But
this
we can
and
ask
then...
planning, we can ask planning when they're doing their conditions though, right? Later.
Why don't we do this, that certainly, we can fashion some legislation that might give direction in this area, and pending that, Mr. Voyles, why don't you help me write a letter to the Planning Commission indicating the general interest of the council, and that they may want to consider that prior to us adopting any legislation that we anticipate it will be forthcoming.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay.
Alderman Ross brought up a question about someone brought up a question about a number of cars that could be contained on this lot. And we did that with a piece of legislation a couple of weeks ago for another. Should we take a look at the square footage of these car lots to determine what a proper number of automobiles should be allowed on that? To arbitrarily come up with, here's 23 vehicles allowed on this lot, but this lot to me looks bigger than the lot that we dealt with 2 weeks ago, and we allowed 40 cars on that lot. Same way, similar to what we do with signs. Signs are a certain number of square footage is allowed for the sign to be, or the size to be based on the square footage of the side of the building. That shouldn't we consider something like that? If we're gonna arbitrarily.
We're getting a little beyond this legislation.
Well, I understand. I'm saying, but this legislation here has a condition of only 23 automobiles.
And
where'd they get that number?
Well, I don't think they pulled it 23 out of thin air. I think that part of that's a discussion with the owner of the site. It's based on traffic plans where they think that vehicles can properly be stored in an accessible fashion. I think that's, they go through a logical process for coming up with that number of 23 when they, or whatever that number might be.
There very well could be topography of the land. There very well could be the fact that they may only want to pave part of it. Some of it may not be adaptable. I mean, we could sit here and probably figure out, a variety of reasons, but I think where we are right now is the legislation before us. And if we want to give some general direction or specific direction to the Planning Commission for lots in the future, then we could do that. I think trying to piecemeal this one, even though we can, with regard to something like that, needs to be a little bit more thought out. So I would ask the council to come back to this legislation, and if there's anything that we could do that you think would address your concerns now, make good points, Alderman Height. But I think we're probably getting a little bit difficult to try to do something.
Well, I understand that, but if we're going to go back to the Planning Commission and ask them, with our help, to take a look at changing some things, then I think the number of cars or automobiles on a lot ought to be considered.
Absolutely.
And the other question I had too, the gentleman said that you're leasing this property and you don't own the property, and then that's listing as a condition that he pave it when he does not own that. Can we do that?
I think we're dealing with the property. We're not dealing with the person in front of us. He's just...
That owns the property.
Well, we're putting a condition that if, as I see it, our city attorney, we're putting conditions on there on the property. We're not putting conditions on, who owns it, leases it, visits it. We're just putting conditions on the property, and if they want to use it, in accordance with their request, then they got to meet those conditions.
I'm just trying to validate my affirmative vote a few minutes ago.
You got every right to do whatever you want to do. Almost.
Were we waiting on an amendment from me?
I don't.
I've got one for you if you want it. But
all right, what's it on?
There was a question about junked or inoperable vehicles. Is that
about what?
Cars, operable cars.
Okay.
Operable cars.
Yep.
And the language I'd recommend is to add a subsection 9 now that subsection 8 has already been added, and that is storage of wrecked, inoperable, or junk vehicles is prohibited.
There, somebody wants to move that one?
So move.
Second? I heard the second, I think. On the motion? to amend?
Bryant?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes. Move for adoption as
Mayor?
amended.
Wait a minute.
We've got one
Go ahead.
I've got one more concern.
Okay.
On the asphalt or paving, is there any direction from the aerial view I see here? There's a lot of buildings and cars parked all over this thing. Are we going to have a requirement that the front half of the property be asphalt or concrete, or is it going to be the entire property?
We said the parking lot would be paved. That means they're going to park vehicles on it, it's got to be paved.
That would be the way I interpret it. If there's a car parked on it that's for sale, it's got to be paved.
Or at the sales area?
There's a car parked on it, it's got to be paved. Can't park on it. Sorry, can't park the vehicle on grass, can't park the vehicle on gravel. So wherever they're wanting to operate their business, it's got to be paved with asphalt or concrete.
All right.
All right, we are on the motion, I assume, Ms. Whitby. Alderman
A
Witcher.
motion. Did someone second that motion to adopt as amended?
Didn't have a second.
All right, well, let's wait. Is there a second that addresses, I think you moved.
A move for adoption as amended.
Well, no, wait a minute.
With
Are
items
we still
number
on
8
the
and
amendment,
9.
though, aren't we?
No.
No.
We got the amendment, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
You've got two amendments.
And
I
I'll second
understand.
his.
All right, well, motion made and seconded to adopt is amended, that's where we are. Okay? So we've adopted the amendment, two amendments. All right, any further discussion? Motion made and seconded to adopt as amended. On the motion.
Bryant?
No.
Ross?
No.
Robinson?
No.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
So,
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
No.
4-4.
Mayor votes yes.
On the emergency, Bryant?
No.
Ross?
No.
Robinson?
No.
Thomas?
Yes.
Gaines?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
And Witcher?
Yes.
That's 5-0.
Mayor votes yes.
That concludes new business.
Got a heart down there, Murray, got a heart.
Any council member? Any council member?
One question to Robert Bowles, if I could.
Mr. Boyles?
Just wondering if, for sure, legislation for changing that name, not saying it's going to pass, we don't know what everybody else feels. Would that be done? Because they're going to count that on February 11th, I believe it is. Next council meeting?
Next council meeting,
Would it be done? You have it done?
or the area from Main East,
Main to North Hills, yes, sir.
Yes.
There won't be any problem?
assuming, this is on the
Curtis Sykes.
renaming of 15th Street.
I'm working with Senator Steele, and he's confirming that the neighborhood has been canvassed, and will get back with me. I talked to him 3 days ago.
Okay.
Well, they announced it on their internet, and they were going to have February 11th and everything.
He was gonna call me back, and
Okay.
From Main to East, I think is,
Main to North?
Actually, Senator Steele indicated to me from the tracks,
tracks east,
Percy Mason?
now, we're talking about,
spur tracks.
well, we're talking about the Curtis Sykes Drive, is that?
Correct.
Okay,
All the
he
way.
told me from the tracks,
Easterly.
easterly.
Okay.
Which would be across Main Street, and so there would be a section of that west of Main, several
Okay.
blocks.
Right, okay.
The
Slick, we're slick with that, that's cool, where we're at?
north-south, the tracks that go down toward, down through
Notifying
Lee.
residents.
Sir?
We're notifying all the addresses that are affected. I'll need to notify the ones west of Main. So I'll,
That's what Senator Steele told me when I talked to him late last week.
okay.
Okay. The only other thing I had, we're having a town hall meeting in Ward 3, February 12th, 6:30, you're going to be there, mayor's going to be there, city attorney's going to be there. Want to invite everybody, police chief be there. 6:30, Levy Baptist Church, town hall meeting, February 12th. Thanks.
Any other council member?
Mayor, I need to see Mr. Ward or Mr. Smith, one or the other, after a council meeting.
Since that happens to be in our ward where they're renaming the street, I still don't quite understand how far you said we're going to go.
All right, Senator Steele, I talked to late last week, and he indicated that people that they had been working with and canvassing were wanting to go from North Hills Boulevard on 15th Street west to the railroad tracks that are going toward Fort Smith. and that would be the terminus. In other words, 2 or 3 blocks, 3 to 4 blocks west of Main Street.
Percy Machen is the intersection.
I understood it was only going to go to Main Street.
That's what,
I'm just repeating
Okay,
what
well,
Senator
that's-
Steele told me.
And I'm saying I understood it was to go to Main Street.
okay, but I called, Mayor. I called Tracy Steele too, and when I told him he'd been working with this, I was going to talk to them about it, but going from Maine all the way to North Hills.
And that, whatever, I mean, that's
Okay.
fine with me. I'm just
Okay.
simply repeating what's.
That's what they
Senator Steele
was
had
told to me.
mentioned.
I'll make sure, because I told him that. I don't even think I misled him in some way. Okay?
Alderwoman Ross?
Just to keep things uniform, I think it should go to, doesn't Bishop Lindsay go to Main Street? I think to keep things uniform, it needs to go to Main Street.
It's this
That's-
council's decision.
Okay, all right, that's just.
And I'll convey that
I just,
comment.
you know,
Right.
for the fire and police, I think it would be, yeah.
We're in public comment. The microphone's open.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jim Ard. Y'all have in front of you a article about a state trooper that I put up on your podiums tonight. This state trooper has done 3 things. He jerked a gentleman out of a car before he got a badge. He chased a guy down in his own personal car and then jerked him out. And the last one he did was when he went up against a Stevens Incorporated guy. The reason I share this with you because he's a paramedic at times. And I've been told, and I can't get Mr. Swanson and Mr. Thompson to call me back, that he's still allowed to ride the ambulances. And we don't need someone out there that can lose their cool like that when they're going to try to see about our care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Microphone's still open.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Steve Baxter. Based on some discussion that I've heard around town and some posts on some blogs that discuss city issues, I understand that there's some legislation being drafted at this time concerning the 2008 quota. And it's my understanding that in that ordinance, it's going to drop our police force by 10 funded positions. And I'd just like to say at this time that I really think that with things being what they are in the city, that we do not need to cut those funded positions. I understand that they're funded but not filled, but I just think we need to hold on to those positions while we can.
I don't recall that we're going to do anything of that nature. I know that we have 10 positions that are not funded in this year's budget, but there's been no interest on our part to remove those positions from the police department. So that, whatever information in relation to that, it's in error. Let me just make one quick announcement. First of all, Alderman Bryan, I know we've been interested in all of us interested in the hydro. As of this day, we are our actual revenue to date is $1,393,801. We are $330,550 ahead of budget. So we're on track to meet our projected budget. In fact, we're ahead of track. And our seals are not wearing, they're holding their own. So may the good Lord, and I know I started with the prayer, so I neglected to ask him, keep that water coming from Oklahoma. Secondly, those who are interested, and I know Ward 3 particularly, we just got today, and I'll make available any copies for anybody that might want one, the noise study that the Highway Department was conducting on I-40 relative to, I know some of Ward 3 was real concerned, some of my ward was concerned, and in fact, my backyard is part of the study, and I know they recommend about an 18-foot wall on our backyard for noise abatement, and I don't think any of my neighbors, including myself, will want to see that. In fact, we've already gotten word from former Alderman Gibson that he would be opposed to that. Although I think maybe further west on I-40 there may be some interest in the wall barrier, but there will be a hearing, I believe it's the 18th of February, but we'll post that, at least in our area, up on Cherry Hill, and we'll let that be known. And I think there'll probably be another one just a little bit west along the Scenic Hill route. So keep an eye. That report just came out today, and we'll all be very interested for those of us who are noise affected. With that, is there a motion? Motion made and seconded. We adjourn. On the motion.
Bryant, Frost, Robinson, Thomas, Gaines, Parker,
Yes.
Height, and Witcher.
We have nothing new, I guess, on the Bass Road, do we?
The